If you take your socks off at 6 p.m. and see deep, red indentations squeezed into your skin, I need you to stop what you are doing and listen to me very carefully. Because putting on a pair of compression socks every morning is only doing half the job. In fact, you are likely hiding a broken biological pump, and your body's second heart might be failing. I am Dr. Robert Harrison. For decades, I have worked with patients who thought heavy, puffy ankles were just an inevitable punishment for getting older or standing too long. They buy expensive, oversized shoes. They spend their evenings with their feet elevated on a stack of pillows. They swallow water pills, and they simply accept the discomfort. But by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly why your legs are swelling. More importantly, you are going to walk away with a zero-cost, two-step protocol to fix the problem at its source without relying on a tight pair of socks to do the work for you. Before we go one step further, we have to rule out a medical emergency. This is absolutely critical. If you look down and only one of your legs is swollen, especially if it happened suddenly, feels warm to the touch, looks red, or causes sharp pain, do not wait. Do not try the protocol I am about to show you. That sudden unilateral swelling is a massive red flag for a deep vein thrombosis, which is a blood clot, and it requires you to go to the emergency room immediately. Now, if both of your legs are swelling slowly over the course of the day, we are dealing with a systemic issue. Tell me right now in the comments, do you get those deep, uncomfortable sock indentations at the end of the day? Let me know, because I promise you, you are definitely not alone in this. Let me introduce you to a patient of mine named Marcus. Marcus is a 52-year-old accountant from Chicago. He spends about 9 hours a day sitting at a desk looking at spreadsheets. Last year, he came into my office because he thought he was developing severe arthritis in his feet. He told me that when he put his dress shoes on at 8 in the morning, they fit perfectly. But by dinner time, his feet felt like they were being crushed in a vice. The tops of his feet visibly bulged over his shoelaces. He told me it was just the reality of getting older and sitting at a desk. His previous doctor had essentially agreed, telling him to restrict his salt, keep his feet up while watching television, and wear heavy compression stockings. I told Marcus what I am about to tell you. It is not just gravity pulling fluid down into your feet. Gravity is always there, and it has been pulling on you since the day you were born. What is actually happening is two simultaneous system failures occurring inside your body right now. I call them the leak and the broken pump. Think about how frustrating the traditional cycle is. You wake up and your legs look relatively normal because you have been lying flat all night. You start your day, and by lunchtime, your calves feel incredibly heavy. By 5 o'clock, your shoes are painfully tight. You go home, prop your feet up, and wait for gravity to slowly drain the fluid back out. The next morning, you wake up and do it all over again. That is not a medical solution. That is just surviving. Your body is screaming at you that the plumbing is compromised. Most people assume swelling is just water pooling at the bottom of an empty tank. But your cardiovascular system is supposed to be a perfectly sealed, closed loop. Blood goes down to your toes, and it gets pushed right back up to your lungs and heart. For fluid to pool in your ankles, two distinct things have to go wrong. First, the fluid has to physically escape your blood vessels. It has to leak out of the pipes and into the surrounding tissues. Second, the biological mechanism designed to vacuum that fluid back up has to be broken. You have to understand that those compression socks you wear are just acting like a physical barrier. They are squeezing your tissue from the outside, so the leaked fluid has nowhere to go. They are entirely focused on treating the symptom, completely ignoring the root cause. Why do your blood vessels leak in the first place? Your blood vessels are lined with incredibly delicate cells. They are meant to be flexible, strong, and semi-permeable, allowing oxygen and vital nutrients to pass through to your muscles while keeping the main volume of fluid locked safely inside the pipe. But when certain metabolic conditions arise, those pipes become stiff. The pressure inside them builds up dramatically. And when the pressure gets too high, the water portion of your blood is literally forced out through microscopic gaps in the vessel walls. It floods the surrounding tissue. That is the exact puffiness you feel when you press your thumb into your shin and the fingerprint stays there for a few seconds. This is what we call systemic edema, but the word edema just means swelling. It doesn't tell you why it is happening. In Marcus's case, the why had absolutely nothing to do with his feet and everything to do with what was happening in his bloodstream hours before the swelling ever started. And it all traces back to a hidden metabolic trap that millions of seniors are falling into every single day without realizing it. Let me explain exactly how this metabolic trap works, because it is the true root cause of the leakage happening in your lower legs. It all starts with how your body processes energy, specifically your blood sugar and insulin levels. When you have chronically elevated blood sugar, which is incredibly common as we age and our metabolisms slow down, that sugar acts almost like microscopic rust inside your blood vessels. Over time, it damages the delicate inner lining of the pipes. The vessels lose their natural elasticity. They become stiff, rigid, and much less capable of handling changes in blood flow. But the rust is only part of the equation. The real driver of the leak is insulin. When your body becomes resistant to insulin, your pancreas has to pump out more and more of it just to keep your blood sugar stable. High insulin levels do something very specific and very dangerous to your vascular system. They send a direct chemical signal to your kidneys telling them to aggressively trap sodium. And in the human body, wherever sodium goes, water follows. Because your kidneys are holding on to sodium, your blood volume actually increases. You have more fluid circulating inside pipes that are already stiff and damaged. Think about turning a garden hose on full blast, but the rubber is old, brittle, and incapable of expanding. The pressure inside that hose skyrockets. In your body, when the pressure inside those tiny, stiff blood vessels reaches a critical tipping point, the fluid has nowhere else to go. The water is quite literally forced out through the microscopic walls of the veins and floods into the surrounding tissues of your lower legs. This is the leak. Your body is actively pushing fluid out of the cardiovascular loop. This is exactly why relying entirely on compression garments is a flawed strategy. I want to tell you about Richard, a 70-year-old patient of mine from Atlanta. Richard was incredibly diligent about his swelling. Every single morning, before he even got out of bed, he would wrestle on a pair of heavy, medical-grade compression socks. And for the first 8 hours of the day, they seemed to work. His ankles looked relatively normal, but Richard told me that the moment he took those socks off at 6 p.m., he could almost feel the fluid rushing back down his legs. Within an hour, his ankles were swollen tight again. I had to explain to Richard that the compression socks were not curing anything. They were just acting as a physical barricade. They squeezed the tissue so tightly from the outside that the fluid couldn't leak out. But the underlying pressure inside his blood vessels, the high insulin, the trapped sodium, the stiff walls, was still completely active. The second he removed the barricade, the leak resumed immediately. The socks were a band-aid masking a systemic failure, but the leak is only half the battle. If fluid leaks into your tissues, why does it stay trapped down by your ankles? Why doesn't your body just clear it out naturally? That brings us to the second system failure, the Bergpump pump. Gravity is a massive, relentless force. Any fluid that escapes your veins is instantly pulled down to the lowest point in your body, which is why your feet and ankles take the brunt of the swelling. To get that leaked fluid back up to your heart and cleared out through your kidneys, your body relies on a brilliant piece of biological engineering. We call it the second heart. You know it as your calf muscle. Your calf muscle is not just there to help you walk or climb stairs. It is designed to act as a powerful biological hydraulic press. Every time you take a step, flex your foot, or engage your lower leg, the calf muscle violently contracts. When it contracts, it squeezes the deep veins in your leg, forcing the pooled fluid and venous blood upward against the force of gravity. Tiny, one-way valves inside those veins slam shut between steps, preventing the fluid from dropping back down. It is a perfectly designed vacuum system. But there is a fatal flaw in the design. It only works if you are moving. When you sit at a desk for 9 hours like my patient Marcus, or when you sit in a recliner all evening watching television, your second heart is turned off. The hydraulic press is completely disabled. The leaked fluid has absolutely no mechanism to fight gravity, so it just sits there, stretching your skin, creating pressure, and causing that heavy, aching fatigue in your legs. This is exactly what happened to Elena, a 66-year-old retired teacher from Phoenix. Elena loved flying cross-country to visit her grandchildren, but she dreaded what she called economy class syndrome. She would sit in a cramped airplane seat for 4 or 5 hours. Her knees were bent, her calves were completely inactive, and the pump was shut down. By the time the plane landed, she would be desperately struggling to force her swollen feet back into her shoes in the middle of the aisle. Sitting in that airplane seat is no different mechanically than sitting on your couch. The leak is filling the tissues, and the pump is turned off, leaving the fluid trapped at the bottom of the gravity well. So, before we even talk about how to fix this, you need to know exactly what is happening inside your own body. Do not just guess. Do not just assume it is old age. At your next medical appointment, I want you to ask your doctor this exact question. Can we run a fasting insulin test along with a comprehensive metabolic panel to check my sodium levels and kidney function? Do not let them just test your fasting glucose or your A1C. You must specifically ask for fasting insulin. That one test will tell you if your metabolism is silently commanding your kidneys to trap sodium and increase the pressure in your pipes. It will tell you if you are actively causing the leak. Once you understand that this swelling is the result of a metabolic leak and a deactivated calf pump, the solution becomes incredibly clear. You do not need to resign yourself to a life of oversized shoes and tight socks. You need to patch the leak, and you need to manually turn the pump back on. And the protocol to do both of those things costs absolutely nothing, and you can start doing it in your living room today. Now that you understand the two system failures, the metabolic leak and the broken mechanical pump, we can finally talk about how to fix them. And the best part is that the protocol I am about to give you requires no prescription, costs absolutely nothing, and can be started the moment this video ends. We are going to divide this into two distinct steps, patching the leak from the inside and manually restarting your biological pump. Let's start with step 1, patching the leak. Remember, if your insulin is high, your kidneys are trapping sodium, and that sodium is dragging water into your stiffened blood vessels until they burst with pressure. To stop the leak, we have to lower the pressure. And to lower the pressure, we have to tell your kidneys to release that trapped sodium. You do not do this by just starving yourself of salt. You do this by lowering your insulin and increasing your potassium. Your first dietary shift is to ruthlessly cut out the liquid sugars and processed, naked carbohydrates that are actively spiking your insulin every few hours. I am talking about the sweetened coffees, the fruit juices, the granola bars, and the refined breads you might be eating alone as a snack. When you remove those aggressive sugar spikes, your pancreas stops flooding your system with insulin. Within just a few days, your kidneys get the signal to stand down. They stop hoarding sodium, and your blood volume naturally begins to normalize. The pressure inside your pipes drops, and the microscopic leaking slows down. At the same time, you need to bring in potassium. Potassium is your body's natural sodium flush. It actively encourages your kidneys to excrete excess sodium through your urine while simultaneously helping to relax and dilate the walls of your blood vessels. You do not need to rush out and buy an expensive supplement. You just need to eat real food. Avocados, spinach, sweet potatoes, and salmon are incredible sources of bioavailable potassium. When you lower the insulin and raise the potassium, you are literally changing the pressure dynamics inside your vascular system. Now for step 2, manually restarting the pump. You cannot quit your desk job, and you cannot stop taking long flights, but you can manually override your second heart to clear out the fluid that has already pooled in your legs. I want you to integrate 3 specific physical movements into your daily routine. The first is the seated calf raise. You do not even need to stand up for this. If you are sitting at a desk or in a chair watching television, place your feet flat on the floor. Now, push down through your toes and lift your heels as high off the ground as you comfortably can. Squeeze the calf muscle hard at the top for 2 full seconds, then slowly lower your heels back down. I want you to do 20 repetitions of this every single hour that you are sitting. What you are doing is manually engaging that biological hydraulic press. Even while seated, those hard contractions are squeezing your deep veins and forcing that trapped, stagnant fluid upward against gravity. The second movement is the ankle pump. Extend your legs out in front of you. Point your toes as far forward as you can, like you are pressing on a gas pedal, and then pull your toes as far back toward your shins as possible. Do this back and forth 15 times. This activates the specialized one-way valves in your lower legs, waking them up and preventing the fluid you just pushed upward from immediately dropping back down. But the third movement is the real secret, and it is something almost no one connects to leg swelling: diaphragmatic breathing. When you sit slumped over a desk or slouched in a recliner, you are taking shallow chest breaths. But when you sit up straight and take a deep, profound breath into your belly, expanding your stomach outward rather than lifting your shoulders, you are creating a massive pressure change inside your chest cavity. That deep belly breath acts as a biological vacuum. It literally creates negative pressure in your torso that sucks venous blood and lymphatic fluid up from your legs and back toward your heart. Every hour, after you finish your 20 seated calf raises, I want you to take 5 deep, slow, diaphragmatic breaths. Push the fluid up with your calves and vacuum it into your chest with your breath. Fix the leak and run the pump. Let me bring this all back to Marcus, the accountant from Chicago, who thought his swelling was just a permanent punishment for getting older. Marcus started asking for his insulin to be checked. He cut out his mid-morning sweetened oatmeal and the sugary coffee drinks he kept at his desk. He started eating an avocado with his eggs. And most importantly, he set a silent timer on his watch to go off every 60 minutes. Every time it vibrated, he did 20 seated calf raises and 5 deep belly breaths right there in his office chair. 30 days later, Marcus walked back into my clinic. He was wearing his same leather dress shoes. It was late in the afternoon, and when he took off his socks to show me his ankles, the deep red, painful indentations were completely gone. The skin wasn't tight. The heavy, aching fatigue had vanished. He didn't need to wrap his legs in tight compression garments anymore because he had finally fixed the mechanics of his own body. Your mobility and your comfort are not things you simply have to surrender because you passed your 60th birthday. Aging does not mean you have to accept systemic failures as normal. Your body is incredibly resilient. It wants to heal and it wants to function smoothly. It is just waiting for you to stop masking the symptoms and start repairing the source. You have the power to fix this, and it starts today. I am Dr. Robert Harrison, and I want to hear what you are going to do next. Drop a comment below with one of these 3 exact choices so I know where you are on your journey. Comment starting today if you are going to use this zero-cost physical routine of calf raises and deep breathing right now. Comment asking my doctor if you are bringing up your fasting insulin and sodium levels at your very next medical visit. Comment sending this if you already know a friend or family member who constantly complains about heavy, swollen legs at the end of the day. Your health is your most valuable asset, and true health comes from understanding your biology, not ignoring it. Please hit the share button and send this video to someone who needs to hear it. Save it to your playlists so you can review the physical routine later. And if you found this valuable, subscribe to the channel because we are just getting started. Click the video on your screen right now to learn exactly how to reverse the insulin resistance that is causing your vessels to leak in the first place. Stay active, stay informed, and I will see you in the next one.